You don't need an intergalactic space arcade like we have at Classic Game Room to enjoy arcade games these days. Now they're on your PlayStation 3. And speaking of 3, this is IKARI 3, The Rescue, which features a sort of familiar face from 1980s action movies. You'll see in IKARI 3. From 1989, it's IKARI 3, and just look at who's in this game. That's gotta be Chuck Norris from Missing in Action, yet from the top-down perspective, he looks more like Rambo. Chuck Norris combined with Rambo equals an unstoppable killing machine. But only if you can somehow get the real controls to work with this version of the game. Like the original IKARI Warriors, also from SNK, IKARI 3 is a run-and-gun style shooter that had a unique rotary controller on the arcade machine. Like a spinning joystick that you would turn to control the direction of your player and rotate them. They did away with that control scheme for the NES versions of these games because the NES gamepad obviously does not have a rotary joystick. But here they've tried to bring those controls back by rotating your player with the R1 and L1 buttons. And as you can probably tell by my enthusiasm, it doesn't work very well. Which is a shame because this is a really cool run-and-gun style game without a lot of gunning. Actually, it's more running and punching than anything. IKARI 3, The Rescue, is more like a top-down side-scrolling beat-em-up than the original IKARI Warriors, but occasionally you do get a machine gun. Rotating your Chuck Norris Rambo with the L1 and R1 buttons on the PS3 or PSP just sucks the competitive gameplay right out of IKARI 3. But it still remains fun and catchy because you can put in infinite credits and just play forever. And if you remember this game on the NES, it can be fun and super challenging, but the controls, well, they should have just stuck with the NES controls, to be honest. They may have been flawed, but they worked better than this. I applaud SNK Playmore's decision to release a lot of their lesser-known arcade games on the PlayStation Network as minis, which are playable on the PlayStation 3 and PSP. They look good and they're usually not that expensive, but some make that transition better than others. Let's ask Chuck Norris what he thinks. Well, naturally, he wasn't played by you. Not everybody can be in movies like K9 and Missing in Action, too. But everyone should browse the selection of SNK minis on the PlayStation Network. I think you'll find something that you like. The best ones, in my opinion, are Vanguard 2, HAL 21, TNK 3, and while I like this one, the control scheme definitely gets in the way. They should release a giant arcade-sized controller for the SNK minis on the PlayStation Network. In fact, just send an arcade machine this way. Now see, that's where you can tell the character in the gameplay is more Rambo and less Chuck Norris, because Chuck Norris would never get run over by a motorcycle. After a while, I found that the best offense in this game with the clumsy controls is a good jumping around while constantly kicking. It's IKARI 3, The Rescue, available as a PlayStation Mini from the PlayStation Network, and also available as an arcade machine if you can find one, and it's on the NES.